Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update, where we give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. Today is Friday, October 13th. It is actually Friday the 13th, which is possibly a bad omen, depending on how you look at it. We are looking at the Trade the Chain dashboard right now. 1.04 trillion market cap, so slightly up. Bitcoin and ETH are more or less flat, but slightly down compared to previous daily close, as we inch towards the halfway point of today's U.S. session. There is always a bull market somewhere, but again, we keep talking about this. It's all these crap coins, Loom, Zor, Room. These are all high funding coins. They're you'll see them on this list in some way, shape, or form with negative 0.01% funding, which is typically pretty bullish. So there are some cartel games being played there, but definitely seeing some interesting activity from the hottest on Twitter. So always a good metric to track is what's being tweeted about a lot. Clearly today there are some winners on that list, but the most bullish coins not faring too well. And the most bearish coins, people are getting really bearish on these high funding coins, and it's just not working out. Anytime again we see below 10, around 20, we do end up seeing reversals happen. So something to keep in mind there. Let's move over to DXY, which I think is pretty important for capturing just overall macro sentiment. And obviously we are pushing higher. We had some nice 12-hour wicks down here. We're above yesterday's previous day close. RSI is just pumping higher. We although we did close in one of the lowest RSIs since back in July, obviously still pressing higher. So momentum definitely on the DXY bulls side. Now we are getting a bit of a kind of a toppy indicator here, not exactly bearish divergence, but close. So if this does kind of pull back to the previous daily close or obviously go lower, that should help risk move higher. But this is going to be a slow moving asset, and it's obviously moving higher today. So my opinion is this is going to end up pushing higher into next week. But again, your kind of failure points in terms of that idea is if it ends up below 106.6. Looking at equities, pretty scary, ugly 4-hour candle. This is what we call a bearish engulfing. And definitely worrisome with this kind of flat close up here. Typically the market will end up taking that out at some point, but doesn't have to be immediate. So that's something concerning if you are getting bearish here. But I do think the bearish bias is very much warranted. Qatar today threatened to stop exporting oil if the attacks on Hamas don't stop. So, we're not going to get into right or wrong, but we do know that if Qatar stops exporting oil, that is what creates kind of the 70s stagflation event, especially, that would cause oil prices to skyrocket. And obviously when we're dealing with, inflation, it's not what we want to see. So, not good threats on that side of things. So the way that I'm looking at this right now is this kind of little area as a demand zone. It also coincides with the 1-hour estimated 200 moving average, which is how I know it's, also significant. And it's kind of the lower half of value, which is this purple weekly value, I should say, which is kind of this purple line. And then obviously you have your weekly view up here, which is also significant. It's going to be something that we need to really break back over for me to be convinced, the bulls are still in play. But demand zone here. So obviously we're holding at yesterday's low. And so if we can hold this level, then we can maybe get back above, 43.40. And then that can help us push back to today's high, which we met, very early in the session, and then obviously sold off. If we break below 43.27, 43.25, I think to be more exact, then 42.98 would be my first target. And then 42.57 would be my next target. I will say, considering we're now underneath the 1-hour estimated 200 moving average, I'll zoom in a little bit. As you can see here, this is right where the line is. It rejected off of it. It's still trading beneath it. So if it closes beneath it, we will likely reject. So pretty simplistic trading there. Accept above it, probably go higher. Accept below it, probably go lower. Looking at Bitcoin, let's zoom in on the 1 hour. I don't know why all these are on the 4 hour today, but so we had a bit of a bullish bias to start the day due to the fact that Bitcoin held these equal lows yesterday. So typically what you would expect is if it can break above the 20, really 27K, just to give it a flat number, but it's like 26,955. If you can get above that, then you can make your way up to the weekly VWAP 1 hour estimated trending moving average, then obviously what was last week's range. Now, clearly, we rejected off of that. We are below yesterday's close. So none of this price action looks positive to me. The best case scenario is getting back above the previous daily close, which is 26,760. If you can get back above that, then you can then retarget that 27K number to then try and get back above. But my thesis for the trading day was if we break below the previous daily close, we'll first meet these lows. And then if those lows break, then we'll head down here. So kind of looking at this as, right here, let's draw this line right here, 26,556. That's the first target for the low, for the next level down. And then if we break beneath that, then we'll target 26.2. And then, obviously kind of 26 flat down here, which is, not the low from September, but one of the lows from September. So that's what we're looking at here. This is a really tough decision because obviously if it does hold here, that could be a bit of a higher low. And obviously I think people were hoping for a higher low very early this morning between 5 and 6 a.m. Then we rejected, now we've got this kind of lower low on the LTF. So, what you want to do is, this is kind of the last hope. If you can kind of sweep this level, which means, close back above the previous daily close, you've got a good push higher. And then obviously, very similar to the equities, if you close below the, the 1 hour trending moving average, you're going to move lower. So it's kind of the same exact idea, with Bitcoin. And so definitely I would monitor this next hourly close. Because if we do get a sweep, you've got a chance to push higher, or then we could get rejected again at this level and then get pushed back lower, and then we're just kind of ranging for the weekend. We've seen plenty of weekend ranging in our days to know that that could still very much hurt. So definitely think that this whole little area is going to be very significant moving forward, because if we continue to drop lower after forming equal lows, whatever buyers stepped in here will likely have to puke. And if they puke, that, then that adds more selling pressure to whoever is basically causing this whole downtrend to begin with. So that's why I think it's, it's even more critical that we hold this level, or, and things will get worse if we break it, because, you're not going to see buyers continuously stepping in, stepping out, stepping in, stepping out. So things will definitely get hairy below 26.5, in my opinion. Don't know why we're on the Loom chart, but, also whoever was asking about this yesterday, so it did obviously move higher than what I had expected. But then, typical, fashion, you get this ugly candle, and then, it's just a bunch of volatility. So you're a brave individual if you're trading this. I definitely would trade this more on the LTF, but not going to lie, it's still the top funding coin. And, if the market doesn't poop out here, meaning Bitcoin and Ethereum don't just drop, I could probably see something like this, maybe grab this liquidity one more time, because you probably got shorts that, stepped in right around here with this as the stop. So if you run the highs, maybe it's a sweep, or maybe it's an acceptance. So, that's not for the faint of heart. Would not suggest doing that, but I can see it happening. Looking at ETH, tricky. What I noticed yesterday, so, this was a Thursday low. You swept, or it was not the Thursday low. It was the, this was just the morning low on Thursday, and then there was a low. But the moral of the story here is it swept this level, confirmed above this level right here, and then broke above the Monday low. So if you're kind of thinking about the Monday range, you're like, oh, we got a nice little sweep here, take some longs, we'll maybe target the VWAP, maybe the 1 hour estimated trending moving average. And that's kind of what I was thinking. Obviously, if we could hold the Monday low, which is 1545, and then we immediately get rejected right after the open and slip back beneath the Monday low. So any of the bullish trajectories are, for Ethereum, I would not be thinking bullish at all unless you can get above 1545. And that's a significant level here, because what I'm looking at now is this could have been one large deviation and it had a really good chance to be. Now it kind of looks like it's deviating in and out of the range. So, went from looking really good to now looking pretty so-so. So we obviously, the initial kind of target was 1534. We're hovering around the previous daily close. So that's a good sign for the bulls. But if you hold this level and still can't get back above this level, then you're just going to get rejected back to 1534 and then potentially lower and target these lows down here. So I'll go ahead and draw a line down here just to signify this low and keep a lookout for that, because we could, at the end of the day, form some sort of equal low, kind of like how Bitcoin did. And then, all the excited bears get crushed here when we, maybe we do. Let's kind of just draw the thesis. So what you want to see if you're a bear is obviously, drop, drop, something like that. But what you could see is, especially with weekend price action, is sweep and then boom, and then get everybody excited again about breaking that high and then come back down and do this, and you're still technically forming lower highs on a larger time frame, but that's enough to trick people into thinking that market structure could be broken. So we could see something funky like that, but in my opinion, unless you are already in from shorts higher, have an extreme bear bias, best to play it level to level. So in my opinion, breaking beneath 1535 right here would be a good short. Rejecting at 1545 would be a good short. And then I would just be very careful about the price reaction at 1520, because obviously, you could hold strong, you could, suffer through whatever happens down here. But if you do get a sweep, more likely than not, it's going to at least, crawl back up to 1535 or possibly 1545. And then your scalp gains are gone and it kind of turns into a swing. And that's really not how you want to trade. You want to be closing, you want to be collecting your profits. So unless you're in a short from higher, I think you can probably relax. But again, I think a good short opportunity is a rejection from 1545 or a break of 1535 if you do not get that rejection. So one final note is let's check out the Bitcoin chart. So I thought this was fascinating, at least to mention. Let's make sure I have this fully updated. Yeah, so Bitcoin sentiment was bullish, and I think a lot of people did get excited down here at the lows, like, oh, equal lows, we're going to push up, and then it's kind of waned overnight. We do have increased trading volume, which is good to see. We do have increased tweet volume, which is good to see. But the issue is, people are getting excited here, but it's tough for me to really listen to them with kind of the macro overhang, especially with what Qatar is saying, especially with possible escalation, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm taking, Bitcoin daily sentiment with a grain of salt. And I'm also going to note the drop after the failure to break higher, so we're dropping, sentiment's decreasing as resistance is holding. And for me, that's something that you definitely want to take note of and not ignore. So UIC now, appreciate that exact match to levels on BTC. So great minds think alike. Very glad you tuned in and gave us that note. It's, it's not always the best when everyone's looking at the same levels, but it is good, when the people who know their stuff are kind of recognizing the same things on the chart. So with that being said, we will, of course, continue all of our videos next week. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. I hope everybody stays safe from if any volatility occurs. My bias, is still macro bearish. I've been kind of thinking that we've got some sort of bounce on the horizon. It's, this is kind of, I've been saying it since Wednesday. This is where you would want to see a bounce. We're not too much lower from Wednesday in the grand scheme of things. And let's, look at the Bitcoin chart, so I guess we are lower, we are $500 lower, but like I said, in the grand scheme of things, especially with, where we were trading, in late September, we still have a chance to move higher, but definitely with these engulfing candles, these bearish engulfing candles, equities looking very weak, compared to how they started the week. I think right now, do not get too excited to be bullish, considering the fact that, the best chance we had was literally this morning to get back above 27K, failed. Ethereum, best chance back above 1545, failed. So I would definitely take note of that. And the fact that we're still above Monday's low on both Bitcoin and Ethereum, also very worrying heading into the weekend. So I hate to be that guy, but want everybody to be prepared for what's possible. So with that being said, good luck, happy trading, and please do check out tradethechain.com and get your 14-day free trial, all of the access to myself, CJ Monte, all of our content, all of our information, all of our daily trade updates. You get that during the 14-day free trial. So join up, have some fun. See you guys soon.